Prepare your brains.
Because it's Oscar season.
So it's that time of year again. The Oscars are really soon actually now. We're gonna go through our Oscar picks for a few of the key bigger categories. So this year we've actually seen a lot of movies. Like I think it's a record year in terms of movies watched on the nominated list.
I've actually seen 29 of the nominated films, which is the most I've ever seen, especially at this point. Like I still have time to watch some things from now until the Oscars, and I'm already at 29, which is super surprising.
And I'm at 28. She's just beating me because she was forced to watch Boss Baby.
Yes.
So.
Really, I lose. And actually something that's different this year compared to other years is that we've actually seen all of the best pictures. Sometimes we just miss some of them, we can't find some of them. Sometimes there's at least one or two of them that we just don't want to watch. Fully, they're just not in our interests or we don't like them. But this year we've actually seen them all.
I enjoyed all of them for different reasons. Like I think they all have a reason to be on the list. Sometimes you're like, really, that one? I'm not sure. It's more like a heat of the moment kind of film. All of the movies this year are really excellent.
So the first category we're going to look at is Best Supporting Actor. This is a category that I find actually quite hard to decide. I'm sort of torn between a few choices.
Me too.
I like Christopher Plummer, mostly because he waltzed in so last minute to that film, but gave such a good performance. It was memorable. He wasn't even that much in it, but all of his scenes just are striking and are memorable, and I feel like he's so in touch with the character, and in such a short time, that's pretty impressive.
He's also like, in my heart, he's my choice, I think. Exactly that. His performance, like, it left me feeling so angry, and he was so cold, and yet you could feel he was still being a human, which is a very hard line to fall on.
It wasn't like a caricature of this evil old man, sort of in a cartoonish way. It was still very real. Just horrible.
Yeah, and very sad.
I think Sam Rockwell is also a pretty popular choice.
I do think it'll probably go to him. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And I'm fine with that. Like, I think Sam Rockwell is awesome just in general, but he was really good in that film. His character has like an evolution, and we kind of go through a journey with him that's kind of unique to that film, I think. Like, there was really an evolution in all the characters, really, but in his case especially, I think.
Yeah, to go from something so specific and so ingrained to having like a full turnaround, and for it to feel very natural.
Yes.
Like for it to feel really normal that he had that change. It's not like in a ridiculous, exaggerated way. That you really have to sell that.
Another category that was very strong this year is Best Supporting Actress. There are a lot of really impressive performances in that category, but my personal choice is Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird. I think her performance is incredibly authentic. It feels real, it feels like a real person, it feels like a flawed person, but really well crafted. And I think her nuanced performance, because you can tell that she feels guilt, she doesn't want necessarily to be doing what she's doing, but she knows that it's for the best, and that's very difficult on her, and you can feel that all of that just through her like subtle facial acting, if you will, which I think is very impressive, and that's why I would go with her this year.
I think that's a really good choice. I also like Allison Janney in I, Tonya. Obviously sort of a more exaggerated version of your character you chose, but still an interesting performance. It's always a task to become someone that actually exists and that people have seen. So there's the added difficulty there, but I think I still prefer Laurie Metcalf. But I think Allison Janney is also a very good choice.
Go Moms!
I mean, in both cases,
I don't know, debatable.
Depending on the mom. The next category is Best Actor. For me, I think probably if I sort of guess what people like and the voters that are actually deciding this is probably Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour. It would not necessarily be my pick. I don't know if personally I would have chosen that. I do like Daniel Kaluuya, hopefully I'm saying that right, in Get Out. Possibly my preferred choice, but I think probably Gary Oldman will take it. Being a historical figure, that sort of subject matter tends to pull the vote.
We have to give him credit, because I agree with you 100%, but I do give him credit because it's a very transformative performance.
Yeah, you barely recognize him.
I mean, it doesn't look like him at all. He sounds spot on. He looks like the part, which it's kind of like what you were saying before. Like, he was playing a real person. There's challenges that come with that. Very popular historical figure. There must have been a lot going into that just to prepare. So I do applaud the work that must have gone into it. But I agree that I think my favorite performance is not his.
The fact that you're playing someone that is very quotable, that a lot of people know very well, there's a line where it can get kind of boring.
Yeah.
Because people know the character already. You sort of have to go into trying to find a new way to represent this, for it to be interesting for viewers. And I think that's something that he accomplished.
Yeah, he made it his own somehow, even though that's very challenging because he's so well known. Also, I have a huge crush on Daniel Kaluuya. Let's just be real and just be clear on that. I love him a lot. I think what I love about Daniel's performance is just the... You're laughing at me because I didn't say it.
Yeah.
It's too personal if I call him Daniel.
My friend Daniel.
You know Dan? I think what I like about his performance is basically just how genuine he is. Once again, like that, he feels like a real person. We jump into his universe, which is crazy. It's a crazy world that he's in, but you want him to succeed so much. And he's not afraid to play emotional, which I really think is important. And as we're going on, like, I find movies are less scared of that. Of like showing emotional sides and how life can be rough and showing it in their faces. And I think he really succeeds in portraying emotion and comedy and drama and fear.
And still somehow ground that film. Because everything around him is so insane, but his presence in the center of it makes everything work, I feel.
So the next category that we've chosen to talk about is Best Actress. And in my case, I've chosen Frances McDormand. It's another year where there are a lot of really awesome actresses and there are a lot to choose from, but I think that one is the performance that stood out the most for me. I mean, I feel like I'm just repeating myself. But she feels like a real person to me.
It was a year for real people.
But it's true, like, you can feel like the anger, it just exudes. Like, she's such a powerful badass that you just want her to succeed and want her to get what she deserves, really, because she's not getting that. And you root for her so much, even if she sometimes does cross the line. Like, she's a gray character. Sometimes she will go in zones that you're like, ooh, no. But you're still rooting for her because it's such a noble cause, it's so important, and she feels like no one's listening to her. And I find like characters like that really get me. Like, I want them to do well. And I love her just in general. Frances McDormand is probably one of my favorite actresses at all. If she's in something, I would like to see it. Like, I think she's always phenomenal, but I think this might be her best performance ever. Going on a limb there, I don't know. But I think it might be. I think she did a fantastic job.
Well, I think you're right too. We've had a lot of characters, especially this year, that have had very complex personalities. That have not just been like, oh, this person strives to be that. I think there's a lot of what I would call portrait films that are just kind of like, let's discover these people. Let's find
character
out.
Work.
Yeah, let's find out who they are. It's less about what they do. It's more about who they are.
Yeah.
And that sort of creates films where actors have to portray very complex, mixed emotions, mixed sort of feelings about situations, and highlights really that side of an actor's profession. So I think that's why we're so tossed for a lot of the categories. There's a lot of these kinds of films that were made this year. The next two categories that we've chosen are Best Director and Best Picture. I feel like those two categories this year are very linked. There are there's like a top 3 films that the buzz is currently indicating towards. I'm just not sure who's gonna take each category.
I will probably change by the time we actually vote on this during the Oscars. Like, I've flip-flopped 1,000 times. I cannot decide. I'm convinced I'm going to be wrong either way.
We're just going to decide the wrong one for each category.
That's what's going to happen.
Doubly wrong.
I'm sure of it.
Oh, we should just like vote for the same thing and just be right at some point.
One of them is right, probably.
And I feel like the top three for me and what I've heard about, I know 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri had a lot of buzz for a while. I know also that that's possibly fading for the Best Picture category. A lot of people...
I think is right. I like that movie a lot, but I don't think it's the Best Picture of the year.
Okay.
I think it deserves a spot on the list.
Definitely.
It's one of the best, but I don't think it is the best.
Yeah, I agree. The other 2 that are sort of having a lot of buzz around it is Get Out, which is very impressive. I'm really
so
glad.
happy about that. I remember when we went to see it last February, I was like, man, I just wanted some nominations for it. Like, I would have never even dreamed that it would have, like, a horror film is a Best Picture nominee.
Wow.
That's phenomenal.
I mean, that must have broken records. I mean...
Oh yeah. This year has been a big year for breaking records.
True, yeah. A lot of female nominations where there have been very few or never any nominations. Like, for instance, in the Best Director category, we actually have a woman nominated, which is very rare.
It never happens. It's been great. Like, I'm so happy.
I know. It's like, yes, they've fixed the Oscars a little bit.
A little bit.
And the other one that we haven't mentioned yet is The Shape of Water. Which is, again, a sort of genre, sci-fi kind of...
love story.
Yeah.
But aesthetically, of course, because it's Del Toro, it's phenomenal and fantastic. Creative. He's so creative. I'd love to just, like, be close to him and just hear him talk about stuff. I think that would be so cool.
Possibly a little creepy for him.
Definitely creepy. I want to go to his house though.
Oh yeah,
you can go to his house in Toronto and you can like go visit, and he has like lots of props from films, but just like stuff he's bought over the years. Come on,
awesome. Let's do that.
Yes, and we'll film it. It'll be great.
Yes, but it's hard for me to decide which will be in which.
Yeah.
Like, will Jordan Peele take it? The Best Picture will go to The Shape of Water instead, or will it be the contrary? Del Toro will take it, and then Get Out will get Best Picture. I can't decide.
I think, like I said, I'm gonna change my mind, but I think right now what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Del Toro's going to win for direction.
Okay.
And I think Get Out is gonna win Best Picture. Del Toro is so central in his films. He plays such an active role. He creates these universes. He wrote this film for Sally Hawkins.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, I'm writing a movie for you.
Oh, that must be cool.
Yeah. I think I would give it to him based on that. His world building, his creativity, the way things are shot, the colors, the textures, everything about it, it's his creation. But I think Get Out is the best picture. Like, I think overall it's the best film that we had last year. And it was my favorite film of the year, so I'm biased on that point. But I do think, it, like, from beginning to end, it's the best structured film. It's an important film, which I do think sometimes does win Best Picture, have an important impact on just society and culture. And I do think Get Out has probably had the biggest impact on just people in general in the last year. So I do think, as of right now, that's how I would divide it up.
I think I agree with you, because I like the fact that Del Toro is so central to even the themes that he explores in his films. It's very personal, and everything just seems to just kind of crawl out of his brain.
Yeah.
So in that sort of way of looking at it, he would be more important than the film.
Yeah. Also, I think, just based on, like, you know, the way things work, Del Toro has been a long-established director. He's never won any of these awards, even for like films that should have probably not been nominated in the past. I think people were kind of closed off to this idea. It's time to celebrate his work, and I think this is probably his best film, so I feel like this is a great time to do it. Jordan Peele, obviously it's a fantastic film, but It's his first film.
Like he has more time
Yes.
to sort of explore and
He's
build that
built.
career.
Exactly. So I think he will win at some point. I'm convinced of that. He definitely will. But I think this year might be Del Toro's year.
So those were our predictions for a few of the categories of the Oscars. I mean, I'm excited to see what actually happens on the night. I mean, we could change our ideas like 7 times.
And I'm usually wrong, so I'm expecting all of those answers to be wrong, probably.
We're aggressively untrustworthy when it comes to voting for this stuff.
I vote with my heart a lot. That's the problem.
Yes.
People who vote for these are not doing that. They're not voting with their
No!
heart.
Some people that are voting didn't even see all the films.
I know. How do you vote in that case?
I don't know.
I guess we do, but we're not like important.
No, we're not important. But this year again, we're doing our traditional Oscar party. We're gonna get a chance to vote on the day and sort of anchor in concrete our decisions.
Yes, and prepare food and eat the food and laugh and cry probably.
Yeah.
It's a great time. I really love it. Like it's our Super Bowl, to put it into perspective.
We put a lot of time and energy into finding terrible DVDs to force our friends that win it to watch.
Yeah. And I bought a dress.
We bought clothing specifically. But what do you guys think? Are you aggressively angry at everything we've just said? Because that's what happens normally.
But if you do have ideas, it might be the same, it might be different. Let us know. I'd love to see in the comments what people are thinking, what they're voting for. Even for other categories we didn't talk about, it could be really fun to see what people are thinking.
Because even if we're just doing 6 categories today, there are a lot of categories that actually interest me. Like I'm one of those annoying people that care about editing. And I mean, there's a lot of technical things that are very cool as well. So if you have opinions on those, Baby Driver, write it down in the comments.